Danger. Once you get into the desert, there's no going back, said the camel driver. And when you can't go back, you have to worry only about the best way of moving forward. The rest is up to Allah, including the danger.
Good morning, Young Kings. Time for your more motivation. Decided to jump on this morning. It's been about 2 weeks since I've been on. As I mentioned in my last video, I had to have all 4 of my wisdom teeth pulled. And when they pulled them, it took me a little longer to recover than I was expecting. Had difficulty eating, had a lot of headaches, so I decided to take a pause. But I'm back, and we're going to get back on reforming our reality. But before I get into our regularly scheduled program, I want to give a shout out to one of my new subscribers. I just went over 50 subscribers. 50, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but from where I came from, just people viewing these videos is significant. Big brother, Soul Immortal, I've been watching his page for about 2.5 years and got wonderful content on there. Made a comment on his page, and next thing you know, he said he would subscribe. So that was amazing. It was like the highlight of me starting my YouTube, and actually got one of his shirts on, Empire Over Everything. And the significance behind that is that for kind of like what we're talking about here, not kind of, but is parallel to staying on purpose, keeping your empire, your kingdom, in your task and your mission priority over everything else. Everything else is subordinate to you becoming your higher version of yourself. So shout out to him for joining. Today's what we're going to do. Took a few notes, and I noticed that since I stopped running, when I was running, I used to just push record and just have the videos play at the first thought that came through my head. And I felt a little more comfortable doing that than I do in this format, sitting in the office. So I still got to mature in this format, but hopefully you get something out of it, because I take notes now. Try to be more intentional about the thoughts that come to my head. I put them on paper and then I organize them. So hopefully you'll get something out of this one as we continue to grow. Speaking of grow, I am about to grow my brand. I have an Airbnb, and I was watching a lot of YouTube content, and I see people do consults, and they be charging like $350 for a consult, and you can call and talk to them for an hour or so. So what I decided to do, I'm going to start doing the same, not charging $350, but I'm going to run it through my Airbnb so you can have an experience with me. Come chill and see how I live. So I'll put the link into my Airbnb, and we can build together. Like if you have something you want to talk about, submit it, and I'll pray on it, get with the Most High, and get my download to be able to communicate to you. So I'll put my Airbnb link on there, just so even if you just want to be nosy and see how I live and just go through and see where I'm living at. My life is an open book, pretty transparent. Just make sure your energy is right if you do decide to come. But anyways, let's get to our regularly scheduled program, reforming our perspective. So if we're going to reform our reality, then we got to change the way we view things. Like our old eyesight, the way we used to look at things, can no longer be our vision to how we're going to go forward. Everything that's happened to us is in our past, and now we got to set the glide path to where we're going moving forward. So we're going to reform our perspective. And when I thought about reforming our perspective, the scripture came to my head in Corinthians. I think it's 1 Corinthians, well, it's right here, 13:11. And it says, when I was a child, I talked as a child. I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. So there's some things that happened in our past or before we ascended to our higher version of ourselves that can no longer be the way we govern ourselves and our activities now. So when you were a child, it was okay to think like a child. It was okay to play like a child and do childish things. But when you become a man, then you got to start putting away some childish things and start acting like the king that you are and starting to mature. And so your perspective has got to change. When I was thinking about that, I was gifted with the name Andrew. And if you look up the name Andrew, it means manly. It means a man's man. It means a man of courage, that's brave, that's, courageous, that's a warrior. Those are things or attributes that were associated with my name. And those are things that I embody with my personality. The I am king, knowledgeable, informative, narcissistic guru. Those are all mixed into that kingship that I have. So as we reform our reality, we're going to have to reform our perspective of how we look at things, because you can lose without being a loser. You can fail without being a failure. You can win without being a winner. There's a saying out there that says a broken clock is right twice a day. So just because you got something right don't mean you always get it right. And just because something went wrong don't mean it will always go wrong. And I know I said in a few previous videos, that's why the significance of the Formula 409, that cleaning formula. And the reason they called it 409 is because it took them 409 times to get the specific formula that they wanted to do to put on the market. So what if they had stopped at 100? What if they stopped at 200? What if they stopped at 300? You got to think, when they got to 400, defeat had to be in their mind. But what if they just stopped at 405? They would have never received the end state of their vision. So sometimes you got to have where failure is not an option. You know, that's why I have my saying is that I can't fail. Because even when I fail, I have successfully found out something that didn't work, so I can begin again more intelligently. So as we get into this reforming our perspective, I decided to give you a bird's eye view of how to reform your perspective. And there's 3 birds that we're going to use to do this. And it's the chicken, it's the crow, and it's the eagle. And I'm going to go through the attributes and try to get this video down to the size of your attention span. So I'll shrink it a little. But let's go through the chicken. The chicken is a domesticated bird. And the chicken was originally a term for an immature or young bird. They stay on the ground. You know, they have wings, but they can't fly. They can hop over small fences and stuff. But for the most part, they're immature in their ability to navigate through the air. So they have to walk on the ground, eating garbage and stuff of that nature. They eat scraps. You know, they look at little feed off the ground and good off lizards and stuff of that nature. So the chickens are the people who are into low living. You know, they can't fly. They have a very limited perspective. So their limited perspective is about what's in their geographical area, just for that limited what's on the ground. So you got to be aware of the chicken, that you're not a chicken and that you're not dealing with chickens in your life. So the chickens are the people that's going to be gossiping. They're going to be the people that are always got something to say about someone else, that are always complaining, always have the lowest of the low. They have high expectations, but they just don't have the ability to go out and fly to be able to get to something above what they're able to reach. So be aware of the chickens. And then you got the crow. Now, the crow is able to fly. And if you look up the crow, they're considered very intelligent black birds with a hoarse, crawling voice. So they're intelligent. You know, they kind of like, they keep in flocks. So they fly in groups. You know, they need the pack around them in order to succeed. They usually feed on the ground. And almost everything they eat. Crows are attracted to garbage, pet food, and things that, you know, other creatures that crawl on the ground feed on. Those are what crows do. So, and the thing about crows is, like, they come in large numbers. Although their beaks are large, they're weak, meaning that they have this very this large beak, but it's weak. The beak that they have cannot even penetrate the skin of a squirrel. So although they have this beak and they can fly and they can swoop down, they are dependent on other people that's why you see a lot of crows in roadkill, because whatever's killed has already been wounded, is already down, and their flesh is already opened up, so to speak. So they're dependent on other people to feed them. And that's why they come in and they'll swoop in and they'll steal. Like, say chickens had something, a worm or something, a crow sweep down and take it from the chicken because the chicken can fly. You know, that's why I said sometimes they steal from other animals. So the crows in your life, or the crows that are around you, are the people that they may be smart, but they still are not able to benefit from the smart. They may be strong in some areas, but for the most part, they're weak. They stay in other people's business. These are the people that are listening to the chickens and going and stealing stuff, and then they go back and regurgitate it and say it to someone else. Hey, you heard what this person did and this and that. Those are crow behaviors, and they thrive off scraps. They wait till other people do something, and then they try to swoop in and capture the benefit of somebody else's labor. So you got to be aware that you're not a crow and that you're not dealing with crows. So then you got the eagle. Now, the eagle is this majestic bird. You know, it soars through the air. And it says the eagles are large, powerful built birds of prey with heavy heads and beaks. You know, this big kid, I gotta be an eagle. You know, the eagle is so majestic. It has a wingspan that can go out to like 7 feet 2 inches. So imagine like a Shaquille O'Neal, you know, in the vertical, just the wingspan of this just gigantic bird. And it says that they are extremely powerful. Eagles are extremely powerful. Most eagles are larger than any other raptors other than a vulture. And a vulture is just a larger version of the crow. They sweep down, they eat garbage and stuff like that. But this eagle is considered a majestic bird. Most eagles typically are heavier than all the other birds. And the other thing about an eagle, and I was learning in this research, is that their eyes are 8 times the size of the human eye. They're cute. Their ability to see things from far off. So they're up there flying up high and majestically, and then they're able to look down with accuracy and determine what they want to prey on. So sometimes with that sight, you're gonna have to be, if you're gonna be an eagle, you're gonna have to have the ability to spot your haters from far off. Not only your haters, but those things that you want to prey on. So the eagle has this eyesight, and it serves as a strong advocate for anything that is pursuing. Because if you're going to pursue something, at first you got to be able to see it, and then you got to be able to lock on it, and then be able to pursue it. So it says they're able to spot things from far away. Eagles normally build their nests in high places, in high trees, on high cliffs. So they stay up in high places. The other attributes about the eagle is that they fly during storms. Like, you can't have it to where you only are able to succeed during calm weather. Because if you're going to be a king, the storm is coming. There are storms coming your way. And you're going to have the ability to fly and get to where you need to be in spite of the storm. And it says it uses the storm and it glides with the wind pressure from the storm. And this is how it saves energy. The storm comes with all this wind, and the eagle finds a way to use that storm to maximize its flight altitude. And it preserves its energy by using the wind of adversity of the storm to propel it forward. So some things that you experience in life that people think was meant to destroy you is going to be the same thing that if you're an eagle and if you use that adversity right, then it's going to help propel you into your destiny. So all adversity is not bad. I was just hearing the other day that the Most High gives his strongest warriors the hardest battle to fight. And it's not to destroy them, it's to strengthen them. That's why there's this saying that says, you know, don't ask God to remove your problem. Ask God to give you strength to endure it. Because if God removes all problems, then you remain weak. But if God gives you strength, then you are empowered to not only deal with that, but then you increase your strength to deal with other things. It also says that the eagle is ranked at the top of the food chain, and it's of an apex predator, meaning like of all predators, this is the apex, this is the top. The eagle is considered top notch, kind of like king shit. Like, you got to be above everyone else. It's no longer that it's acceptable for you to just go along and get along. This is not a pursuit of being average. You got to be above average. That's why I say it's at the top. And one of the attributes about birds, all birds in general, is that when it comes to approaching their prey, like whether it be a hawk, whether it be a crow, whether it be a vulture, all these birds, when they fly in to get their prey, they'll either look back before they grab the prey or slightly after they grab the prey, because they're trying to check out their surroundings. They're uncertain about if them going in for this prey, maybe somebody else is watching them to try to come and grab them. So right before they go to get their prey, they'll look back either before they grab it or after they grab it. They'll look back and check their surroundings. All birds does this except the eagle. The eagle focuses on its prey, it goes down to grab it, and then it looks in the direction of travel it's going. It's not concerned about what the chicken may do, what the crow may do. It recognizes that it's majestic and it's on a mission. It's going to accomplish that mission, and then it's going to go on to the next thing. The other thing about an eagle is, although they fly high and they're majestic, when they swoop down to grab their prey, they don't stay on the ground. They grab their prey, they grab it, and they fly off in a direction without looking back. And then they use those claws to start tearing it up while it's in flight. So an eagle, when it gets the prey, it doesn't deal with people on their own territory. It takes you to where they want to deal with you at. It's not going to get on the ground and start fighting with chickens and try to say, hey, I'm going to wrestle with you down here in your territory, on your homeland. It doesn't do that. It grabs you, snatches you, and flies off. And while it's in flight, those claws are ripping you apart. So if you're going to be an eagle, you can't be down on the ground dealing with chickens, dealing with crows. Go down and grab them, then get back on about your business. Don't stay there. So when you are reforming your perspective, you got to have a bird's eye view. And that eye view has got to be eagle sharp. You got to have the ability to navigate through life as an eagle. Stay and be majestic. So if you're going to be an eagle, you shouldn't be dating no chicken head. You shouldn't be hanging out with crows. You know, you shouldn't be just with the flock. They're going to have to rise and ascend to where you are and deal with you are, as opposed to just going with the flow. So you're going to have a choice. You got to make a choice. Like, being an eagle, it's going to cost you some friends. You're going to have to stay out of some things. Some things are designed to bring you down. And if you take the bait and you go down and you deal with it in their territory, then you have lost your identity. And that's not what we're here for. We're here trying to build. So I'm going to conclude on this, because it talks about in King Solomon, he got his kingdom, and then he started taking care of his enemies, and then he used wisdom, and then all of a sudden he started building the temple for the Most High. And this is what the Most High told him about the temple he was building. And this is in chapter 6 of 1 King, verse 11. Now the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, concerning this house which you are building, if you walk in my statutes and you execute my ordinance and keep my commandments. Look, I'm going to read that again. He says, if you walk in my statute and execute my ordinance and keep all my commandments by walking in them, I will carry out my word, which I spoke to your father David, and I would dwell amongst the sons of Israel. So what the Most High is saying is like, yes, I anointed you as king. You have went and you have fought some battles, and I have anointed you with wisdom. Now, this concerning this house that you're building, because kings are builders. They're building things. They are advancing. Concerning this house that we're building, says if we walk in the statutes and we keep his commandments, that he would honor what he gave his father. And you know, we're descendants of kings. So by us being descendants of kings and being connected to the Most High, then he has a higher version of us that's going to have a higher output than what we have currently been experiencing in life. So in this journey to get higher, it's going to cost you some things, but that cost will be worth it, especially if you connect it to the Most High. Be well, young kings.